Stock market and SoFi investors, welcome back to the channel. My name is Jason, and today I want to talk about an institutional investor who's betting huge on SoFi stock. Absolutely humongous. A $3 billion bet on SoFi stock. I'm going to tell you all about it in the upcoming video. I'm going to break down what I'm doing with my SoFi shares. I currently own over 5,000 SoFi shares. And with the recent run up, am I buying more? Am I being a little cautious? Am I selling some of my shares? I'll let you in on everything I'm doing with SoFi stock and break down this institutional investor who has bet the biggest out of all of the other institutional investors by a long shot with an incredible $3 billion bet. All right, SoFi investors, do me a huge favor. We're closing in on 4,000 subscribers. So if you could hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, it really means a lot to me and the growth of this channel. Great free way to support us and the work we're doing here, guys. All right, here we go. Take a look at your screen right now. In this little baby Robinhood account, I own, 335 SoFi shares. And today we're pretty much flat. It's kind of been like that over the past month, right? Just kind of trading sideways. I have been selling some cash secured puts and some covered calls while this stock bounces up and down, right? I'm definitely a buyer of SoFi stock under $25 per share right now. Over the last 3 months, we are down 6%. Even in the last 3 months, it's just a lot of chop, right? Kind of like hitting resistance in that $32 range, bouncing off it at the $24, $25 range, and just kind of chopping around, right? Year to date in this young year, we're still breaking about even. Over the last year, SoFi stock up a whopping 72%. It's been a great couple of years, like year and a half so far for SoFi investors, where, back in the doldrums, in that summer, we were down to $6, down to $4.64 per share. Holy guacamole, guys. What a run SoFi stock has been on. But if we just look at regular metrics, guys, it's trading a little rich, 49.21 PE. So we got to keep our eyes on that moving forward, right? So SoFi stock, if we take a look at the price to sales, that's the kind of metric I'm looking at right now in that multiple range. It's trading, in an okay spot, right? It's definitely not as high as it was at one point, but still pretty freaking high considering back in 2024 in September, it was at 3. Price to sale is around 9. I think over the course of time, we're going to see this settle in that 12-ish range because I do think this is more than a bank, with its suite of all these different platforms that are making money right now. I do think we're kind of going to be in the middle of where banks are and where fintech is trading at. Robinhood price to sale is in the 20s right now. So I think in the middle between that is a sweet spot in that 12 to 15 range is where we're probably going to settle long term, right? Profit margins at 19.4%. And I do like seeing the short interest come down because, for years it was so freaking high, man. It was absolutely crazy. Short percentage of the float under 10% now, kind of right where we want to be. I eventually want to see it under 5%, but we'll see how that plays out. We have a cash total of 3.2 billion, total debt at 2.81 billion. So we can pay off that debt if we wanted to, but that's not the way you roll. You got to use that cash and optimize it to your advantage. All right, guys, here it is. Here it is. Vanguard owns 107 million shares of SoFi. Crazy. $2.9 billion, almost a $3 billion bet on SoFi stock. Holy shit. They own a ton, almost double than the next biggest shareholder is BlackRock, coming in around 5%. We're at 8.5% for Vanguard. And I do always like to double check different websites. This is simply Wall Street. And then we do see different valuations on different websites. Here on Yahoo Finance, this was last updated September 30th. So it could have changed a little bit there, guys. But yeah, 107 million shares, right in that ballpark, guys. It's crazy, man. Absolute craziness. And if you take a look on Simply Wall Street, it does tell you this is updated per quarter here, guys. And we see the top 25 shareholders, almost 40% of the company, right? We can see these big increases by the big dogs, man. State Street Global, D.E. Shaw, J.P. Morgan, BlackRock, Vanguard. In the top 10, there's only one company shortening their position, UBS Assets Management, the Jane Street Group, Anthony Noto, and Susquehanna, International Group up huge. Bank of America did trim their position by 40%. Out of all these companies that are buying, that really doesn't concern me too much. But institutional investors are huge for the stability of this stock long term. Right now, institutions own over 650 million shares, coming in at 672 million shares, 53.24% of all the outstanding shares are now owned by institutions. Not long ago, this number was in the 30s and 40% range. We pull up this chart right here, institutional ownership, and we can see there's a faint line here, guys. I don't know if you can see it, but that line coordinates to the share price. And the green bars is the institutional ownership. And we see a direct correlation between the amount of the stock price has risen and the amount of institutional investors owning the stock, right? So right now, we're closing in on 700 million shares owned by institutions. That's great for the future of this company and the overall share price. If this continues to increase, we are in good hands there, guys, because look, up and to the right here, and this faint line up and to the right as well. So there is a correlation between institutional ownership and the stock price of SoFi over time, right? And then if you go on Fintel, you can kind of go and see who's buying, who's selling these shares as of right now, right? You get these updates, the 13Fs, and all these companies, 13,000 here, 71,000 here. The green is a new institutional investor. And then this is the percent value that they have increased if they already own the shares. Like right here, Capital Advisor Inc. increased 22.59%, right, with that additional shares they bought, right? So that's kind of how you read these filings there on Fintel. And you can see some of these monster companies owning them in different types of ETFs, like Vanguard's total stock market owns 33 million shares, and the small cap they own 25. It's like spread out in all these different funds. That's kind of how SoFi shares are ultimately divvied up in all these different ETFs or exchange traded funds. All right. So Vanguard, BlackRock, JP Morgan, big names in the financial realm. How about JP Morgan over that last quarter increasing their position by 6,000%? I do think over time, the more institutions that pile in is only going to be a positive thing for this stock moving forward. That's why I talk about it so much, because these institutions are huge. And the best part is they haven't even been added to the S&P 500 ETFs and funds yet, right? And once they are, oh my goodness, you're going to see this stock tear through the roof. Look what happened to Palantir. Once they got added to the S&P 500, all these funds that track the S&P 500 are forced to buy SoFi shares, right? And that's only going to run the price up over time. In my opinion, guys, I think we're in really good hands. And once we get added to the S&P 500, I think a $45 to $65 stock price over the next year or two is not out of the realm of possibility. So under 25 bucks, I am a buyer of SoFi stock. They report earnings in a couple of weeks, so it's always good to get the most updated information on the overall business before you make moves going forward, right? But the economy is in a very tumultuous spot right now, right? There's tons of wars going on all over the world, right? So we do have to be careful with going all in on any particular stock. I'm definitely being a little more careful and getting a little cash heavy than I have been in the last previous 2 years, right? Just something to think about right now as unemployment ticks up and we're starting to get involved in these international conflicts with Venezuela and Greenland and the stuff that's going on in Iran and the war still in Russia and Ukraine and the Middle East. There's a lot of conflict going on right now, so definitely be careful. The new puppy is rocking and rolling, shaking it off. I got to go take her for a walk, guys. But thank you so much for tuning into this video. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. And tomorrow I'm going to put out 3 stocks I'm buying in addition to SoFi that could double your money in the next year or two. So make sure you subscribe to the channel to tune into that video. I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.